Most YouTubers are absolutely shameless when it comes to getting views on the platform. They would golden shower their mothers while their father films for their vlog series if it meant a couple 100,000 views, but none are more shameless or just downright batshit insane than Prank Invasion. There's nothing more I can say about Prank Invasion that hasn't been said about your creepy uncle or the pedophile gym teacher you had growing up. This man is a downright fiend. Look at that face, just look at that face. That's the face of a cool guy that tongue fucks his sister with no shame. Just look at how satisfied he is with himself. So this guy's real name is Chris, and he seems to like to fuck his sister, so I'm guessing his last name is Lannister. And as you can see, nothing is off limits when it comes to getting YouTube views. Now, it's debated if this is real or not since all of his shit's fake, but this one has some like proof that it's his real sister, kind of. I don't really care. It's a weird clickbait anyway to really bank on the incest community. There's a cardinal rule when it comes to incest porn. It's not incest porn if the sound's off, then it's just porn. And I think that's what Chris is kind of banking on. I really don't know. The man's a fucking delusional madman. But what I want to really talk about is his behavior on Twitter. This guy is absolutely fucking pathetic. So it all started a couple days ago with this tweet targeting Ethan, because Ethan's made a lot of videos about him insulting his shit, and I guess on this day something just snapped at him like the fucking Winter Soldier, and he called Ethan out to a boxing match which was declined, so then he went to a chess match, which is quite a big jump from boxing to chess. Might as well have just challenged him to a great tea party. Not exactly the most stunning or brave of tweets or anything like this, but it got kind of big because Ethan responded to it and then I saw it. So I went to his Twitter and his fucking bio says professional fighter 8-0. I don't know if I believe this. I'm guessing he's beating his opponents by making out with them until they get too erect and ejaculate and just collapse from exhaustion. I don't know what his strategy is because this doesn't seem like a fighter. This is definitely more of a lover. This man's like a fucking vampire of lips. This man needs them to survive. He's always sloppily kissing an actress he's paid. So I'm guessing he's transferred that strategy to the octagon. I don't know. I haven't checked out any of his fights on Pornhub yet. So when I saw this, it piqued my interest and I kind of kept up with the Twitter drama, and it really was revealed how pathetic and sad this man is. A response from Chaos Silencer, you need to go to college to be smart, and then Chris responds, reread my statement. Your reply is a logical fail. I would know because I scored a 174 on the LSAT, which got me into Northwestern Law after graduating with top honors from UC Berkeley. BTW, the LSAT is an exam in logic. This shit is like straight off of a copy pasta. I wish he had continued. I was expecting another tweet like an hour later. Oh, and also I graduated top of astronaut camp with over a 5,000 parameter index interstellar point score, which has never been done. That blew Neil Armstrong's scores out of the water by over 4,000 points. I am quite literally out of this world. You are beneath me. I was expecting more from Chris. If he was going to go on this copy pasta route, I wish he had committed a bit harder. When I saw this response, I couldn't help but retweet with comment, which isn't something I usually do. So I said, you fucking idiots don't even realize he also graduated at the top of the Navy SEALs with over 500 confirmed kills. Even more impressive, he's made out with his sister over 1,000 times. No, you know, not the biggest zinger I've ever had, no doubt, but I thought it was enough to at least get a response from Chris, which it didn't. Chris is obviously very careful with the fights he chooses, which is why he's 8-0 against the middle school marching band that he's brutalizing. So he didn't respond to me, but he did go on even further into his delusions. He made 2 tweets making it an open challenge to anyone in a chess tournament for $100,000, but no one cares about him, so no one responded to it. I think his attempt was to get more people talking about him, but it didn't work because nobody cares about Chris, except for Ethan to make a couple jokes because Chris is just a punching bag. And then when it seemed like he wasn't getting anything more out of the exchanges, he made this tweet, and this is why I think he's probably the saddest man on YouTube. You see that magic? This brand deal wanted to pay me $25,000, but they said my Twitter impressions were low compared to YouTube and Instagram. Boom! I engineered this and played you for fools. Daddy's got his check now. No, you don't, Chris. How does that make any sense to anyone that's not 5 years old? Man, we'd really like to give you $25,000 for nothing, but your Twitter impressions are low, and they're super low, Chris. You get like 9 likes a tweet. Better luck next time, Chris. Pump up those rookie numbers, pussy boy. How does that make any sense? What kind of brand goes to Chris offering $25,000, but his impressions were low, so they take it away. He didn't even do a brand deal. He didn't do anything. Why did they give him $25,000 if he didn't promote a brand? Are they just giving $25,000 to anyone that can get 500 retweets? That's fucking silly. It obviously didn't happen, Chris. No one believes that happened. And he goes on further into his ruse, his pathetic shell. He says, "Thanks, invaders. My brand deal confirmed a nice bonus due to these awesome Twitter stats, and I've never even promoted my Twitter from YouTube once." Then he shows the 2.5 million impressions. Chris, why the fuck would someone give you $25,000 if you didn't even promote their brand? That's not a brand deal, you goddamn Cro-Magnon fucking troglodyte idiot. That no one believes this, because it didn't happen. Plus, at 2.5 million impressions, who is going to give you $25,000? That's low on the internet in this modern day standards. This didn't happen. You're just looking for any excuse for your lunacy, for your fucking senile actions over the day, but you were too proud to remove the tweets because you're a fucking idiot. This is the saddest shit I think I've seen from a pathetic YouTuber, and there's so many pathetic YouTubers, but this really took the cake because it's so blatantly obvious that he's just making this shit up as he's tearing up behind his keyboard. And what kind of fucking brand would even work with Chris? Someone peddling incest porn out of the back of a garbage truck? What kind of brand would want to work with a guy whose videos are making out with his sister for views? It didn't happen. You're not getting paid for shit. Maybe you're getting ad revenue from the video. I could believe that. But I don't think Gillette's coming to you for the best a man can get, fucking his sister. I don't think that's happening. And certainly not at $25,000 for starting Twitter drama. Just absolutely ridiculous. I wanted to just make something about this because this is the saddest shit I've seen from a YouTuber. And a lot of YouTubers do some pathetic, sad shit, but this took the cake. I wanted to make this earlier, but I decided let's let it sit for a little bit and see if Chris has any more tricks up his sleeve, any more big brand deals in the making. But unfortunately, he has not delivered. I can't wait for Chris's next video where he butt fucks his sister for views. I'm looking forward to it, Chris. Keep up the great work, man. Keep crying on Twitter. Fuck yeah, man. See ya. Nikocado Avocado has set a new world record for YouTuber response time for drama. This was a pretty impressive speedrun. Within a few hours of my video being up, he had his entire response filmed and then posted this morning. So very impressive speed there. And there's a few things I want to talk about, so let's just go ahead and dive in. First of all, it's entirely in character. It's kind of like in the Suicide Squad movie where Jared Leto was constantly being the Joker, even off-set, so he was sending his co-stars like used condoms and dead pig carcasses. That's kind of what Nikocado Avocado has done. He is constantly playing his character. He has become the Joker of mukbangs. He is never out of character anymore, it seems. So this response is not him being genuine or taking it seriously. It's him playing his character and completely misunderstanding what I was saying in my video. He spends the majority of the 41 minutes of this response video eating, because he does a mukbang during it, and asking, "Who is this? Who are you? Does anyone know this person?" If I had $1 for every time he asked, "Who is this?" I would have enough money to afford 1,500 pizzas and do my own fucking nutty mukbang. I never really understood that perspective of, this person's not famous enough for me to care, therefore everything they say is worthless. He makes it sound like because he doesn't know who I am, everything I've said is completely irrelevant. And it's fine that he doesn't know anything about me. I expect that. I'm a fucking YouTuber. I'm an actual Z-lister, an internet content creator. I don't expect to go into a room and all of a sudden everything goes quiet as people drop champagne glasses that shatter on the floor because they're just blown away by my presence, like, oh my god, do you know who that is? That's Charles White. Did you see his newest video where he was holding a rubber penis and throwing around a fleshlight? Holy shit, that's Charles White. I don't expect that. So I just don't really get why that's like one of the main things he keeps reiterating in this video is he doesn't know who I am. I don't know why that's such a strong point. Like, I don't know who this is. Do you know who this is? This guy's just so fucking, you know, not famous. Gross. Not famous guy. Who is this? But anyway, aside from him constantly mentioning that, there are some things that he does bring up that I think are definitely worth talking about. But first of all, I'd like to say congratulations to Nick. It looks like his broken ribs are healing pretty well because he starts this video by stomping into the room. And I also checked his TikTok. He's been going kind of hard, so it looks like his broken ribs seem to be doing better now.
Fiddlesticks! Who is this?
remember when my mom broke a couple of her ribs, she genuinely couldn't walk for like a month. She was miserable. But luckily, Nick seems to be healing at an accelerated rate. He must be like Wolverine from the X-Men, so that's good to see. In regards to his broken ribs, in his response video, he said I was completely lying and that his broken ribs had nothing to do with weight gain, which surprised me because I actually got that information from one of his recent videos. I'll just go ahead and play the clip.
And before you make fun of me, please try to put yourself in my shoes. I cracked my ribs. Bitch! Fuck this fucking air sack from coughing excessively for over 2.5 months and my obesity, all 350 pounds of force. Ouch!
I didn't reach into my butthole and pull this out of nowhere. I got the information from him, so I don't understand why in his response video he makes it sound like I'm lying about so many things. Like he himself said his cracked ribs were the result of coughing for the last 2 months and his obesity, 350 pounds of pressure or whatever he said there. I didn't make that claim. I didn't make that up. It came from him, and you can just click on this video and it's right in the intro. So I don't know why he would say something like that in the response video. It also doesn't really sit right to me that in this response video he puts multiple advertisements for like going to his Patreon and stuff like that. It just shows that he doesn't really take any of it seriously. It feels like this response was just made to capitalize off drama clicks. Like, you know, I just feel like he's never serious anymore. It's always in this act, in this character. You know, I might as well plug something too, since I'm responding to it. Make sure you check out my second channel, Huge Charles, where I'm posting short content and exclusive shit over there. The link will be in the description below. That's Huge Charles, baby. But anyway, now to actually talk about the things Nick brings up that I think are very important to talk about. First of all, he talks about the people that went from my video to his to just be assholes. I always openly condemn this, and I should have again said don't go harass him, because it looks like people need a constant fucking reminder to not fucking harass people. You're not some kind of internet vigilante fighting for justice. That angry comment you left on Nick's video isn't going to help him. You're just being a fucking douchebag. And I completely sincerely apologize for overlooking the fact that I need to remind people how to behave online. I always absolutely fucking hate. I've made 2 different videos on how much I hate when people go and harass people, but just from like YouTube videos and shit. It sucks. It fucking sucks. 100%. And Nick is absolutely in the right in calling that out. Now, with all of that out of the way, let's actually get into the fucking meat here and talk about some of the things Nick brings up. It's clear immediately that Nick misunderstood what I was saying in my video. I don't know if that's on purpose just for the sake of having like an aggressive response video for YouTube drama, or if he genuinely didn't understand what I was trying to say, but he makes it clear that he didn't get what I was going for right away.
I don't have the right to exist because I happen to be a little overweight. I'm being attacked for my weight, for my appearance. Apparently, I'm encouraging people to eat unwell. Excuse me!
I don't even understand at all where that last thing came from. I never made any point like that or even hinted at anything like that. I never said like Nikocado Avocado is a role model and he's encouraging people to eat like he does on camera. You know, I never said like, you know, these kids are going to watch Nikocado Avocado and then all of a sudden they're going to be fucking brainwashed by him. They're going to go out there and order 10 large fries and then a gravy to drink out of a toilet bowl. I never said anything like that. I never said that he's setting some kind of example for people to follow. All I was saying is the success he found with mukbangs has reinforced his decision to eat this way. I was also never focusing on his appearance or saying he doesn't have the right to live because he's overweight. I don't know where these are coming from. As far as appearance goes, me showing his 2017 body compared to his most recent one was used to show what the food is doing to him. If he was skinny and eating the way he does on camera, I would have the exact same criticisms. Because even when you're skinny, you can be very unhealthy, which is a point he makes. I wasn't saying skinny is the gold standard. He also brings up some demons from his past that I didn't know about. I didn't get the full extended lore of Nikocado Avocado. I was under the assumption that he was healthier back then because, contrary to what he says in the video, I am very familiar with him. I've watched his content for a while. I've watched the transformation, but apparently I've missed some arcs along the way in his anime. He mentioned back during those days with the photos I showed he had an eating disorder, even mentioned a tooth rotting out, and that he generally didn't feel like he was healthy back then. And I didn't know any of those things. What I saw on camera was him eating healthy food, preaching about healthy food options and lifestyles, as well as fitness and stuff like that. So I was under the impression that he was healthy during those days, but maybe he wasn't. But he's also not healthy now. I'm not Nick's dad. I'm not here to slap the fucking cheeseburgers out of his hand or anything. I showed these photos because it shows a complete transformation from one body type to another, and it shows that there is still an eating disorder present. And I feel like it's reinforced by his audience on YouTube that encourage it, which is something he mentions in his videos from time to time. He says things like, you guys are doing this, and I think he's right. I think seeing those numbers grow and seeing those big numbers has completely reinforced the idea that in order to be successful, he has to keep eating this way, so he feels trapped to do it. That's the point I was making. It is a very unhealthy lifestyle. It doesn't have to do with his weight or his appearance. It has to do with what he's eating on camera and how often he's doing it. Take, for example, Matt Stoney. Matt Stoney will do these incredible food challenges. He'll eat fucking 20,000, 30, 40,000 calorie meals in a single sitting in under an hour for a YouTube video, and they're fucking awesome. That's nuts to butts action. Matt Stoney eating the fuck out of 20 burritos at a time, double fisting 1,000 tacos per hand. It's incredible stuff, and it's so much food and so many calories, but Matt Stoney does that once every few weeks, once a month maybe. Nikocado Avocado is doing something comparable almost every single day. Over the last week or so, he's posted a mukbang every single day pretty much. So he's eating these thousands and thousands of calories every day. It's very different. The frequency is completely different. Or let me rephrase this. It seems like he does it almost every day since he is posting them almost every day. Now, I do know, at least on a few occasions, he's done multiple mukbangs in one day. And that's still a lot. That's still a ton. So the point is, it's very different. I'm not targeting Nikocado Avocado because of his weight or anything. I was talking about him in this whole situation because it feels like his audience has reinforced his eating disorder, which is taking a negative effect on his overall health. If Nikocado Avocado did not find success on YouTube and be known for eating such massive meals, he would not have gained the 200 pounds in 3 or so years. Gaining that much weight in that amount of time is not healthy by anyone's standards, no matter what doctor or what website you check. It is extremely rapid weight gain, and I don't think it would have happened had he not found success with this kind of mukbanging content on YouTube. He would probably not eat like this. And like I said, if he was skinny and still doing this exact content the exact same way, my criticisms would remain exactly the same. It is an unhealthy diet and an unhealthy lifestyle, as evident by the 200 pounds he gained, which is a lot in a short amount of time, and also the amount of times that he is crying on camera and breaking down. It seems like overall, this content has led him down a path where he is unhealthy and unhappy. My focus wasn't, look at Nick and all of this weight he gained, ewy. It was, how has Nick completely transformed over the last 4 years, and what role did his content play in that transformation? He is completely different now mentally and physically than he was 4 years ago. Nowadays, he's known for crying all the time on camera while eating. It's become one of his big things, like a staple in his content. He is constantly breaking down and crying while eating, which seems like he's much more unhappy now. And physically, he's completely different. He requires a mobility scooter now when he goes out in public. You'll see it in his TikToks, you'll see it in his videos. When he is at a store, he requires a mobility scooter. So what I was looking at in my video was how his content and his YouTube success played a role in this transformation.
Making some of the most revolting noises I've heard in quite some time while undergoing some kind of exorcism.
And me. Who are you? I haven't said anything that you're revolting and you're disgusting.
Yeah, I didn't say that about you either, Nick. I was talking about that shtick you do in your videos where you make a yucky noise. That's what I was talking about. And I think you know that, but you tried to use that as a way to spin it like I was calling you revolting and disgusting for your weight or something like that, which I absolutely wasn't. I was talking about that ongoing joke you have where you make noises and faces like that. I was just saying I find that to be off-putting. He calls them a hairball, which is obviously him kidding around, and I just called it gross because I don't really like those noises. And I'm sure he knows what I was talking about here, but just found it to be easy ammunition to make me look really shitty. So he was able to spin it like, look, he's calling me revolting and gross, he's being a big asshole, which I wasn't. I was just talking about that hairball thing that he does. This video is going to be really long if I keep going through every point he makes, to be honest. We're not even like half of the way through the response, so I just want to focus on the next few big things that he brings up that I think are very important to talk about. He says that I am incorrect about like the nurse, like the full-time nurse to take care of him, and that's entirely possible. I've tried to keep up with his videos recently to make sure I get the full story, but for me it is very hard to sit through a full mukbang from him because it's just sad to see. I'll just be straight up honest. It's hard for me to watch all of them, so sometimes I'll go to Twitter to read threads about Nikocado Avocado to be kept up to date, and I recalled reading about a nurse that had to be on standby in order to make sure that he was able to go about his activities. This, he has said, is incorrect, so I do apologize for that. That information that I got there was wrong. 100%, and I'll take full responsibility for being incorrect on that point. Now, one thing he is blatantly wrong about, and I don't know if this is on purpose to make me look bad or something, he keeps saying that I call his viewers fat, or I am constantly talking about him being fat and gross. Two things I've never said anywhere in that video. I never said his viewers are fat or insulting his viewers. I was saying his viewers are enabling him to keep doing some of this content. And that, I stand by 100%. You can even see it on this response video. There were so many comments saying, don't listen to him, and when are you doing your next big mukbang? I love to watch you eat this and that and that. Like, that's enabling. That's the very definition of enabling. It's enabling a bad habit. And it keeps you doing these same things which have had a negative effect on your health. But that's not me all of a sudden saying all your viewers are fat pigs that are gross and yucky, ooh, cooties, yucky, gross pigs in your comments. I never said anything like that. And I don't know why he tries to hint like that. And I think I don't know if it's on purpose or by accident. I think it's supposed to like make his viewers mad at me. Like, can you believe what this guy is saying about us? Which I never did. What I was saying about your audience is that they keep you doing these unhealthy things, which they absolutely are. I wasn't calling you gross. I never said any of that. I said that they are keeping you doing this unhealthy kind of content, which you've done for a few years now, which has negatively affected your health. And I'll say it again, because that was the point of the video, and that was the point I was making. It's not all your audience's fault. You are making the conscious decision to continue this content and really focus on those numbers, but they do obviously play a role in it. The next thing he talks about is this machine that he's had in every thumbnail for like the last 2 weeks. He says he's actually had this since he was a kid, and it's nothing new, unrelated to mukbangs and all that. Okay, fair enough. Let's say that's true. Maybe it is. It probably is. I don't see why he'd lie about it. But then why all of a sudden now are you putting it so prominently in every thumbnail and every title talking about being disabled and doing a disabled mukbang? Why are you just now showing this off then? It leads your viewers to believe that the situation's a lot more dire than it is, and you're doing it on purpose. You're trying to garner more sympathy out of the situation by having this machine here. It makes it seem like your health is on a really rapid decline. And I think the reason you're doing that is to get more views on it, because when people see that you're in distress, they want to see what's going on and want to make sure everything's okay. So if you truly have had this machine for that long, why are you all of a sudden now showing it off like this in the context of being disabled? So it's pretty fucked up. And I don't want this video to keep dragging on, so the last thing I'll talk about is the broken ribs thing, the subject of like his disabled mukbangs. As I mentioned, he's been kind of jumping around just fine. In this video, he comes stomping in, jumping around just fine. He's not coughing at all in this video, which he's coughed in all the other ones, and then like cried out in pain, like yelling about how much pain he's in. On TikTok, he's doing just fine, moving around, jumping, stomping. Either way, that whole situation seems to be all honky-dory now, so that's great. Anyway, I just wanted to talk about this. I feel like he completely missed the point of what I was saying with my video. I wasn't trying to call him all kinds of disgusting names or anything like that. I don't even know where he would have gotten that from. Maybe just a complete misunderstanding. I'm not sure, but either way, I still find the entire situation sad. His response didn't change my perspective on everything going on over there. I still think it is all a very sad situation. I feel like if Nikocado Avocado was not a successful YouTuber, he would not be doing these kind of mukbangs or eating this way. I feel like that's only there because of the success he's found with these videos, and his response did not change my perspective on that. It didn't change my opinion on it, and yeah, that's about it. So yeah. How far would you go for some updoots on the internet? How badly do you want to suckle from that juicy teat of internet clout? I've actually started quite a few videos with that exact same question. It seems that today the most important thing to people is the numbers on the screen. Bigger number, better person. Everyone's so desperate to squeeze as much milk as possible from those beautiful honkers of internet points, and no price is too high. We've seen some wacky, goofy shit recently for those internet points. You remember those dudes that went to jail for 3 years on TikTok because they were filming a stop the train prank where they just sit on the train tracks and hope the train stops in time before they get brutally fucking blasted by it, and then it actually did stop and they went to jail. We also recently saw that kid play the fake robbery prank on some strangers and he got shot and died for it. His last words were quite literally, "Just a prank, bro." At least according to a few sources, that was an extremely sad one. So we've seen some crazy shit. People really will do anything for some internet fame. And today I want to talk about a pretty special case. It's someone that I'm sure you've heard of. I've talked about him before. A lot of people have. He's been a big name on YouTube for a while. His name's Nikocado Avocado. If you're on Twitter, you've probably seen his asshole floating around pretty often. For some reason, it was a big trend in meme to just post Nikocado Avocado's OnlyFans content all over Twitter. So I've seen his butthole more times than I've seen him doing his mukbangs. For those that don't know, Nikocado Avocado is a mukbang YouTuber. It's primarily what he does. Mukbangs are when you just eat on camera, and that's about it. I'm not really here to get into the lore of Nikocado Avocado. There's a ton of videos that do dive into it. I want to talk about what's going on recently with him. In fact, I'm just going to go ahead and take my swampy ass out of here for a second and let Nikocado Avocado kind of take it away. This is from his most recent video. This is kind of what his content has become.
I wouldn't have become disabled if it weren't for you people who encouraged these videos. This is the $6, this is the $10. Ouch! My ribs! How many months are we gonna have to endure this pain? Alright, let's go for this. Ooh. This definitely looks cheesier. This one. And I'm allergic to this one too. Oh. But sometimes in life you just want what you can't have. I'm not allowed to have garlic. Or lots of onions, or durian.
Now, to anyone that's familiar with this creator, you'll probably think that this is nothing special. This just looks like every other video he's ever made, just with less crying. You've probably even seen Nikocado Avocado around other parts of the internet. If you don't even know who he is, you've probably seen some of his clips. He usually will eat something and then just start breaking down into tears and crying about something. He's notorious for constantly crying. So then why did I decide this video and these clips to show you? Well, as you can tell from the title of that video, he now claims to be a disabled person, which I'll get into in a minute, but I want to focus on what he said at the beginning. Outside of making some of the most revolting noises I've heard in quite some time while undergoing some kind of exorcism. He said, "It's your fault for encouraging these videos." Now, he says shit like this pretty often, and it shows me that there's still some self-awareness deep within him somewhere, locked deep away. But that rational side of him he keeps buried, locked in a cage, and still does this content, even knowing better. Even knowing that it's a complete detriment to his overall health and well-being. He continues to do it while still having that small glimmer of self-awareness. He says it's your fault for encouraging it, and he's absolutely right. Nikocado Avocado didn't start as this kind of channel. Even 4 years ago, 2017, so 4 years ago now, he was a very healthy person. He seemed to be pretty mentally, sound. He wasn't breaking down on camera all the time and going wild and crazy from what I remember. He was even extremely good at an instrument. I think it was the violin, if I remember correctly. He was a vegan. He was just preaching some really positive stuff. But then he started to notice that the videos that gained a lot of traction were videos where he was just fucking gluttonous and eating 1,000,000 calories per sitting. So he stuck with it. And now he has a couple of channels where he does this pretty much every day, and it's been like this for the last 4 or so years. This is what he used to look like in 2017, and then when the videos really started to gain traction, he gained over 200 pounds in the last couple of years. And it's absolutely true. It's the audience's fault for this. They created what Nikocado Avocado has become. Obviously, it's not all their fault. He is making the conscious decisions to completely throw away his health and well-being, which has now led to his disability, which he claims to have. Again, Nikocado Avocado is not the most reliable narrator. He makes a lot of shit up sometimes. So whether or not he actually now has a disability, it's anyone's guess. He claims to have 3 broken ribs, which is attributed to his incredible weight gain. Incredible being the wrong word, really just astonishingly upsetting weight gain that he's been putting on recently. He claims that the weight of his body has now broken a few of his ribs, which now has him bedridden. I think he also claimed to now have to have a full-time nurse in order for him to just engage in day-to-day activities. And he also has been diagnosed with sleep apnea, I believe, which is why you'll see on his most recent thumbnails, he has like that machine hooked up to his nose that makes him look like some kind of like cyborg from the future or something. It seems to really be going downhill quickly for him. People have been saying for the last couple years that Nikocado Avocado is literally killing himself for YouTube views, and it's absolutely true. He is slowly killing himself and documenting the journey the entire time while having an understanding of exactly what he's doing. He's well aware that he is throwing away his health, his well-being, his happiness, for the sake of some YouTube views because his audience continues to eat it up, much like he eats up a million fucking cheeseburgers every couple of days. For almost the last 4 years, almost every day, he has done mukbangs like this, where he's eating 6 pizzas, 8 pizzas. He'll get like fucking McDonald's and he'll order everything off the menu and then ask if they can just tilt the grill over to get a little extra grease in a cup for him to drink on camera. It has been an extremely sad thing to see. He's also been saying for a little while now that he's going to be losing some weight. His weight loss journey has begun, but what ends up happening is for every pound he loses, he gains 10 more. I didn't play much of the video here, but he even mentioned that. He even goes on to say after the "your fault" speech that he started his weight loss and he lost a pound but then gained 3 more because he wanted to please his audience with more videos or something like that. So it's just truly a pretty awful thing to see. As you probably noticed from the screenshot, the last 6 days he's posted a video each day talking about his disability and his new diet with it, and each one he has tons and tons of food from different places, and it's not clickbait. He really eats all of that food. Very rarely does he not finish his plate. He usually finishes it or gets very close to it. Almost nothing goes to waste. It goes right into Nikocado Avocado's guts. And one thing you may have also noticed from that screenshot is his views are high, which is exactly why he does it. Yeah, most of them have more dislikes than likes, but even on the one I showed you, that's still like 4,000 likes, so there are 4,000 people dropping a fat like, leaving an encouraging comment, and he's usually peddling some merch, so the shirts you see him wear, he immediately pins in a comment for you to buy them, and I imagine he sells quite a few shirts. Even the people that get in there just to dislike or just tune in to watch the train wreck, that's more views for him, that's more engagement, that helps him, and that keeps him on this wagon, keeps him going. So overall, it's just a really shitty cycle. And I tune in occasionally just to see if Nikocado Avocado is making any strides in helping himself, because it seems like he really wants to sometimes, and then he goes right back into going to Chick-fil-A to literally eat fucking food off the floor like David Hasselhoff. Like, it's just really sad. Obviously, I'm exaggerating. He doesn't usually visit the restaurants. He just orders it and then eats it from either his bed or his own like table that he sets up for it. When he is out in public, though, he's usually on one of the mobility scooters, and he gets a little crazy out there, because a lot of what his content has become is him making really gross noises and shaking his head around while trying his best to like shake his whole body around to really let you know that he's gained a lot of weight, which, I don't know, man. The whole thing is just weird and just sad. And that's all I wanted to talk about. This is just another one of those things where it's like, man, the links people go to for some internet fame, like, it's just upsetting to see. So, I mean, yeah, that's really about it. So, yeah. Happy New Year. I hope 2024 is already off to a wonderful start for each and every one of you, filled with smiles and laughs. And I believe it's my responsibility to give you something to frown about to kick this year off. And I guess frowning is the wrong word for it, because it's actually something very bittersweet. Tom Scott, one of the best and most beloved YouTubers on the platform, posted a video today stating that after a decade of weekly uploads, he's going to be taking a step back. It's not like a full-blown retirement, because he still has other content that he will be putting out, but he won't be using his main channel the way he has been. And this is one of those moments where you hang his jersey in the rafters here on YouTube's Hall of Fame. He has really made history with his channel. And now he's reached the point in his life where he wants to wind it down and focus on his own happiness as opposed to constantly be thinking about work and producing the videos. And there's actually quite a bit I want to talk about on that subject, so let's go ahead and get into it.
This isn't the standard YouTuber burnout apology video, and it's not, oh, woe is me, I'm leaving forever. I'm going somewhere with this. Literally.
This is one of those super rare situations where an online content creator gracefully departs and moves on from the content that they've created for the last decade. Typically, in a situation like this, with a channel as successful as Tom's, it ends with some fucking septic tank explosion where it's this massive shitstorm of controversy and scandal that leads to their channel just being abandoned or the creator leaves. Usually it's just standard protocol for a channel of this size to end with some kind of big mess, some hoopla. But not in this case. Tom Scott sails into the sunset under his own terms here. As he states right away, this isn't a burnout apology video. He's not trying to be woe is me, as he says. He's not trying to make himself seem like some kind of victim of anything. He's not out here with some kind of douchey send-off where he's like, you know, for too long now I've been suffering from success. I've got way too much money in my pocket and it's making my legs sore lugging it around, so I gotta take a step back. It's nothing like that. He is extraordinarily grateful for the 10 years he spent on the platform making this content, and he's taking a well-deserved, well-earned break from it all.
But I never missed a week. Sometimes a video would be a day or two early or late for one reason or another, but to my own satisfaction, which is ultimately the only thing I'm counting, there's been a video a week for 10 years. I never broke the streak.
He reflects on his humble beginnings. He says he's been trying to put content on the internet since 1999 and was never really sure if it would ever catch on. And then with YouTube, it did, clearly, in a huge way. Tom Scott has become one of the most, I'd say, influential educational channels on the entire platform, and has been for a long time now. His content has always been extremely high quality, obviously extremely consistent, posting once a week, without fail for an entire decade. What an incredible achievement. And this is not easy content that he's been producing by any means. It's not Weenie Hut Jr. shit. He's not just out here flicking boogers onto YouTube and calling it a day with just throwaway bloat content. He is thoroughly researching interesting topics, going to the location, and showcasing some unforgettable moments. He has lived an incredible life over the last 10 years, and YouTube has just been lucky and blessed to have him. He has invited us onto his bosom to suckle, and man, how tasty it has been. But this is a well-deserved break that he is taking here. I'll go ahead and let him explain why he's doing this.
I can't keep this up. This is my dream job, and I have a lot of fun doing it. I know I'm incredibly lucky, but a dream job is still a job, and it's a job that keeps getting bigger and more complicated, and I am so tired. There's nothing in my life right now except work. I could keep making bigger and better things, keep climbing the ladder, build a business, hire full-time employees, and end up as a manager. I could not do that. I could do less and be happier. So I'm taking a break.
I chopped it up a little bit here, but the message overall is a pretty clear one. Even though he has his dream job, it is still a job, and it's one that never ends. It's one that you have to constantly keep your foot on the gas. You can't start granny shifting. You gotta keep double clutching like you should, otherwise you might blow the welds off the fucking intake, as the great Dominic Toretto says. And Tom Scott has done this week after week after week for a decade, and understandably, he's tired. He's exhausted. He said he set out to do 10 years of that grind, and now that 10 years is up, and he's ready to take a breather from it all. He states that he had two options. One, going the traditional YouTuber businessman route, where he puts the suit on, he hires a bunch of miscellaneous teams to keep pouring gasoline on the fire, to keep that puppy burning and churning, to elevate the Tom Scott brand, and he'd end up as the manager. But he said that wasn't really an appealing option to him because he thinks he wouldn't like it, basically. So instead, he went with option 2, and in his words, do less and be happier. Which I think is a beautiful statement on it, because at the end of the day, what's more important than your own personal happiness? He has his dream job, but he is constantly thinking about work and only work. There's no way that that is a healthy or happy way for him to continue living the rest of his life. So now that he accomplished his initial goal of doing this for 10 years, he's ready to explore the next chapter of his life where he's not constantly in work mode like he has been. And I think that is perfectly understandable, it's admirable, and nobody deserves it more than Tom Scott.
Sometime, I don't know when or if I come back, but when I do, it won't be weekly, at least not in this format, not here. This probably isn't goodbye, like not forever. The podcast I host, Lateral, is still going out weekly. My newsletter's still going out. The Plus channel will probably return at some point. There'll likely be new technical difficulties episodes. But right now, I need to spend time with people I hold dear. I need there to be things in my life that are not work, and it's been years since that's been true.
Now, like I said, he hasn't fully wiped his ass with the cyberspace or anything. He hasn't fully washed his hands from it and vanished. He's still going to be making content in some capacity, like his podcast that he mentioned, as well as his newsletter. And he did even say that this channel, his main channel, will have more content on it potentially in the future. As he said, it's not goodbye forever, he doesn't think. It's just right now, after 10 years, he achieved his goal and he needs a break. He needs to focus on things that aren't this. He then concludes the video with a very sincere and heartfelt montage of some very special moments throughout his 10 years on YouTube. Now, I'd like to talk about this in a broader scale on YouTube as a whole, because Tom Scott's not the only channel of this size and this level of success we've seen kind of leave. And I'm only going to talk about the ones that did so on purpose, like they decided to, they weren't forced to. So I'm not going to be talking about like the scandalous ones that were put into an early grave. And I don't mean like they were assassinated. I don't mean like they stopped posting because they got fucking killed or something. Like, I meant more like Illuminati, the channel we recently talked about that completely collapsed and died because of a lot of horrible things that they were doing coming to light. And basically, controversies sunk the entire channel. That's obviously not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about situations like this where a YouTuber decides enough is enough, I'm ready to move on. Throughout the years on YouTube, there have been a lot of big channels that have, for one reason or another, decided to depart from the platform. So Tom Scott is the most recent one, but there have been many channels, even as of the last year, that are deciding to step away, like Tfue. 6 months ago, he announced that he was going to be stepping away from the internet. He did come back over the last month, but he took a 6-month hiatus. An OG example is Ray William Johnson, the most subscribed channel on the platform at one point in time, and while he was at the top of his game, announced, you know what, enough is enough, I'm fucking out ski. So he peeled out, scooted sideways, and he took a long time off of the platform. Though I think there was a lot more behind the scenes that led to that. I don't know if that was entirely his own personal decision. I think there was a lot of weird things going on there, but it is another example of a massive YouTuber stepping away. Ray William Johnson also did come back pretty recently too, but the point is, a lot of these channels all share a couple things in common. One thing you're always going to see, the sentiment shared across all these channels, is that even though they have the dream job, and all of them recognize that what they do online is legitimately a wet dream of a profession, it does still have a very taxing effect on their mental health. Because it's constant. It doesn't stop. When you're an online content creator, not only do you need to consistently be there, you have to consistently do more and be better and elevate. Otherwise, you fall behind because it's the most competitive field on the planet because everyone has access to it. So you're competing with every single human being with a fucking internet connection that even has like a webcam or their phone. So a lot of content creators get stuck in the cycle of this pressure to improve and grow and innovate. And over time, it leads to them being miserable, and that leads to burnout, which I'm sure all of you have heard creators speak about time and time again. And I know that when YouTubers start talking on like the trials and tribulations of content creation, a lot of people will roll their eyes and get nauseous, because if you got lucky enough to have an internet career producing content, you have a lot of luxuries that aren't afforded to a normal, traditional job and someone working them. Most of the time you get to choose your own hours. You get to work on the projects you want to work on, and you don't have, you know, your fucking ass under someone else's thumb forcing you to do things you don't want to. So there are a lot more benefits to working an online career creating content than a traditional job. It is significantly different. But that doesn't mean that it's always easy. There are still some trials and tribulations that are there, and yes, are different than a traditional job, but it doesn't mean that it's all sunshine and rainbows. Someone like Tom Scott, producing this level of quality consistently every week for 10 years, clearly that is going to be the majority of his life. He doesn't have the time to spend doing other things that he'd want to do because he has to keep focusing on this. And eventually it reaches the point where it's no longer as much fun as it used to be, and you want to do other things, feeling trapped or suffocated by this, and eventually you reach the decision like, hey, let's take a breather. But online, a breather is sometimes an outright death sentence to your online career, which again is another thing that makes creators very hesitant to take any level of break for their own mental health, because it could spell disaster for them. And that's not even being exaggeratory. I talked about this during the Tfue announcement of his break. Streamers have this in a very big way. The most important part about being a successful top-tier streamer is being live every day, 5 to 10 hours a day, basically. Just being alive, being there, is the most important part. I mentioned this last time, but I went from a daily streamer streaming between like 3 and 6 hours a day to taking a couple of breaks because it got to be a bit much. I did that daily grind of streaming for 5 straight years, and I averaged about like 14 to 15,000 viewers, and I had around 26,000 subs. This year, I think it was April, I'm already getting foggy on the months, but I took 4 days off, and I still had around 26,000 subs. When I came back after a 4-day break, I had 18,000 subs, about. I lost 8,000 subs from being away for 4 days, and I never got that back. If you take breaks in this field, that audience will go somewhere else to get their fix. They'll go somewhere else to get that, comfort streamer or comfort content, whatever. So it leads to people just trapping themselves into this never-ending grind, constantly just being there and trying to grow or do different things or innovate and whatever, and just never actually being happy anymore doing it. So it takes a lot of strength, a lot of courage to do what Tom Scott has done here, to recognize that it's time that he focuses on himself and his own mental well-being, and as he said, do less and be happier. So nothing but the best wishes for Tom Scott going forward. And I just wanted to touch on the overall subject of big YouTubers or content creators eventually taking steps back or winding down or even just outright moving on from their platform and content they've created. Just wanted to go into it a little bit here. So yeah, that's really about it. So yeah. 2024 is off to an interesting start that I don't think anyone saw coming. Not even the Mayan calendar could have popped this puppy on there. This is a really kind of somber way to begin the year when it comes to online content creation, because another massive YouTuber just announced their departure from their current content. There are more YouTubers leaving the platform than there are people leaving an open mic James Corden stand-up routine. For some reason, it seems like a lot of major channels are having this mass exodus here. Well, I'm exaggerating a bit because right now it's just 2 YouTubers in a week, but they are like actual pillars of the YouTube community. Last week it was Tom Scott posting his announcement letting his audience know that the content that he's created for the last 10 years is kaput. He's closing that chapter of his life and moving on and exploring other areas of his life that he's neglected over the last 10 years of going nuts to butts on the grind for content creation and taking an indefinite break. And now another massive YouTuber is also sailing off into the sunset, MatPat.
It's not clickbait. On March 9th, I will be hosting my last Theory episode, at which point I will be handing off the channels to someone else.
March 9th will be a dark day in YouTube history for sure. It'll probably be a day more sad than June 6, 2006, the date of the Falador massacre in RuneScape. God rest all the poor souls that lost their lives that day. That was a video that hit YouTube, actually how I found the platform, and for some reason that's a date that lives in my head as a sad day in YouTube history, and now March 8th of 2024 will also be there as well. MatPat has built something incredible. MatPat and his team have had an influence on the platform that I don't see ever disappearing. They have truly left their mark on the actual culture of YouTube. Not just through the Game Theorist, it's a lot more than that. They have multiple other channels that they have successfully grown, like Style Theorist and all of that. But more so than just extremely popular channels, they've integrated their brand into content that is completely separate from their own. For example, I myself will often reference his catchphrase, "That's just a theory," or, "Well, that's just my game theory on it." And I'm not alone. In fact, in his video here, he does show a short little montage of other channels making that same reference. he was able, and his team, were able to actually take their content and evolve it in a way that blossomed outside of their own ecosystem. That's not something that you can artificially manufacture and brute force. That's just organic love for your work. I feel as though the majority of the YouTube community has always had an appreciation for the work that goes into the high quality productions that MatPat and his team have produced over the years. So even if you're someone like me, who's not the biggest Five Nights at Freddy's enthusiast, I know, get all your booze out of the way, throw your tomatoes, shoot your spitballs, I get it. I'm not the biggest Five Nights at Freddy's fan. I fucking said it, I know, I'm an uncultured troglodyte, is what it is, but even me, being the dumb Cro-Magnon that I am, have a deep appreciation for their content.
A little bit more disorganized than usual. Normally I would want to script out something like this pretty precisely, but with an announcement like this, I wanted to bring it back to just us. There's no one else in the room, there's no teleprompters, there's no nothing. It's just the way that this whole thing started. It's a conversation between us.
It's a very emotionally charged video, as you would expect it to be. This is his life's work, pretty much, and he's making the extremely difficult decision to step away from it. And his reasons are very similar to the reasons Tom Scott expressed, but I'll let him tell those in just a moment. I want to just mention here that the way he presents this, I also found to just be super genuine and heartfelt. Watching this reminded me of when Steve from Blue's Clues stepped away from being the host. He gave that, like, farewell speech. It was so heartwarming. It was about him going off to college and passing the torch. And I really got the same vibe from MatPat's video here as the Steve departure. And I just had to point that out. And I'd also like to mention that it is more than Tom Scott and MatPat that are leaving. Seth Everman also announced that he is done with content creation. He did let his audience know that there was a set time. Like, he had a timer counting down. He had the doomsday clock ticking down, and that bitch ran out. And he said, you know what? This wasn't a meme. This wasn't a joke. I really am stepping away. So he did a goodbye stream, and that'll be the last piece of YouTube content that he puts out there. There's just been a sizable chunk of huge channels that I feel a lot of you may have even grown up watching that are all announcing that they're leaving, all in a relatively short period of time. So this has led to a lot of speculation and questions as to, well, what's changed? What's going on? Why is everyone leaving all of a sudden? Is there something conspiratorial going on? Do we need the tinfoil hat out? Like, what the fuck is happening? And I'll get to why I think this is becoming so prevalent in a moment, but first I want to let MatPat explain why he personally is deciding to step away.
We knew that we couldn't do this forever. We knew that, honestly, we didn't want to do this forever. For as much as I love you, and I love overthinking things, and I love theorizing, I don't love late nights. I don't love the fact that Steph and I have been work first for over a decade when I was his age. He also probably knows the FNAF lore better than I do, which is a problem that I should probably address at some point. But honestly, I want to be able to spend more time with him.
Pretty reasonable explanation that every other creator has also shared the sentiment of. Spending over a decade with this breakneck pace to keep creating and keep pushing new content and bigger, better content, it's left him in a state where he's ready to maybe not do that anymore. And he's in a fortunate position where he doesn't have to. He can take a step back and start to get some extra hours of sleep every night. And the other big reason is just wanting to be able to spend more time with his family, in particular his kids. Like, it's pretty clear that MatPat is very passionate about what he's built here. And it's not an easy thing to step away from the role he's had for the last 13 years, but he really wants to be more active in his family's life, as well as maybe do more aside from just constantly think about work. And again, as Tom Scott said in his video, it's the dream job to be able to create content like MatPat, like Tom Scott, like Seth Everman, but at the end of the day, it is still a job, and it is something that has consumed their life, their time, and they want to get that time back so they can start doing other things and put their focus on other projects and other places. And to reuse Tom Scott's words here, he can do less and be happier, and that's the choice that he's making. He also does say that he wanted to do this while still at the top of his game. He didn't want his channel to kind of like dwindle and peter out like a sad little wet fart into the wind or anything. And the Theorist brand is on fire right now. So he wanted to go out with a really positive legacy while still at the very peak and take a more passive role. Now, he's not completely disappearing and vanishing from the internet or content in general, but he's not going to be the host or anything like that. He's going to be working more behind the scenes as well as making IP. So it's not like it's the last you're ever going to see of him. MatPat will return, just not in the same capacity that you're used to seeing him, which is not an easy thing to do. Again, it's a very tough thing to step away from. Now, why do I think so many YouTubers are all experiencing the same thing and making the same decision to just slow down or step away? Well, I don't think it's anything nefarious. I don't believe the Illuminati puppet strings are at play here. I think the reason is because YouTube has entered this stage of its life cycle where it's actually been around for so long that some people like MatPat, like Tom Scott, have been on here and dedicated a sizable chunk of their life to this career that they've made on it. Again, it is a job, and much like any other job, there reaches a point where they're just ready to do something else and retire from it. They're just lucky enough that they can retire in a shorter time frame than most people get to. Like everyone mentioned, it is a dream job, but after spending 10 years plus grinding, being exhausted, or maybe even burnt out, they decide that it's just not what they want to do anymore, and they do have the luxury of being able to step away from it without needing to worry about like providing for their family or their family's livelihood going forward or anything like that. So they do make that decision. Now, naturally, with all of this going on, people are starting to wonder, well, who's going to be the next one to announce that they're going to stop uploading or change things around to upload less, what have you. And on stream tonight, a ton of people were asking if I was next, like some kind of Super Smash Bros. DLC character. Am I going to be the next one to make an announcement like Tom Scott and like MatPat? I've been on YouTube for 17 years now, and let me just tell you, I only want to go harder. I fucking love it. The main thing for me, and I've said this since the time that I was literally a kid, is that I never want YouTube to feel like a job, and it never has. And I'll never let it feel like a job. It's just me having fun. It's me sitting here shooting the shit most of the time or exploring really goofy creative projects like God Slap. Wow, I got really disoriented with the camera. Our comic series, and then Plague Seeker, and then music. Man, it's like, what am I doing with my hands? It's like playing fucking Surgeon Simulator. Point is, I love it. I absolutely love it. It's the most fun I have in life. So, no, I don't have any plans of slowing down or anything like that. Actually have some huge plans for 2024 going even more hog wild. So let me put that to bed right now. I don't plan on having an announcement like this anytime soon, but I do 100% understand and respect all of these YouTubers that are making this decision, because it's not an easy one, especially for the amount of time they've spent building the incredible things they have built. And I wish MatPat and his whole team nothing but the absolute best going forward. But yeah, anyway, that's really about it. So yeah. The only thing slower than the DMV is YouTube responding to a problem. When it comes to YouTube addressing a situation or fixing an issue, they take the scenic route. Most of the time, it's just wildly inefficient. It feels like their strategy for handling problems or issues is just to cross their fingers, close their eyes, plug their ears, and just pray that whatever the problem is, it doesn't result in a viral tweet. Because that seems to be the only kryptonite to Superman here. That is the only time YouTube's arm is ever twisted enough to finally address or rectify something. At least that's the way it has been for a long time. I do think they are getting a bit better at it. But in the case of IShowSpeed here, with the situation that happened yesterday, I have never seen YouTube move this fast. In the 17 years I've been on the platform, I have never seen this side of YouTube. They fired on the turbo jets. They engaged the NOS boosters in order to quickly explain what's going on with the whole IShowSpeed situation. I'll go ahead and bring you up to speed on the lore, just in case you don't know what the situation is. IShowSpeed is YouTube's biggest streamer, and yesterday while streaming Five Nights at Freddy's, he really rocked out with his cock out. He got a jump scare from Chica, which resulted in him thrusting at the webcam until his dick flopped out. I tell ya, those damn Five Nights at Freddy's animatronics are so quirky that sometimes penis will just come out of nowhere. But yeah, IShowSpeed was overreacting to the jump scare for the sake of entertaining his audience, and then he took it to the next level by saying that he wants to fuck Chica and started thrusting at the webcam, and then his wiener just ended up on stream and flashed the entire audience, which of course became a huge story online and a huge question mark as to what would happen next. A lot of people are wondering if YouTube was going to give him a strike or if they're going to outright ban his channel because nudity is against their rules. And YouTube has swiftly come out to answer this question. YouTube says that they're not going to ban him or anything like that, or even give him a strike. It'll just be business as usual. He's fine to continue moving forward on the platform as he has been. They stated that while it was a violation of their policy, the fact that Speed removed the broadcast and everything associated with it means that he was in the clear. Which to me makes me think that YouTube actually factored in that it was an accident. I highly doubt he wanted to become known as IShowMeat as a result from all of this. I don't think it was a premeditated cock jump scare. Now, I said this in the last video, but I'm going to mention it again here, and it's something everyone else has mentioned as well. IShowSpeed's main audience is on the younger side of things. There's a lot of kids that watch him. Plus, he was streaming Five Nights at Freddy's, which is a horror franchise that has a very large audience with younger viewers. So I really don't think the argument of this potentially being on purpose for the sake of attention and publicity is a strong argument. Like, I don't think there's any world where Speed actually planned to expose himself in front of this audience playing this game. Because if he did, that would be the stupidest idea ever, and he would probably be looking at a much more serious case than just a potential strike on YouTube. So I highly doubt that this was a scheme. I really don't think that this idea crossed his mind for content like, I'm gonna throw my meat at the webcam and it's gonna generate all kinds of headlines. Like, I just really don't think that was the case. And I think YouTube gets the same impression that it wasn't on purpose, because I don't think usually they would allow this to be just a squeaky clean, you know, go forward and don't do it again type situation. Because I recall a few times in the past there have been channels that have uploaded either softcore pornography or just full-blown porn, and even though they removed the content shortly after posting it, they still either faced strikes for it or just outright termination. So the fact that they're not doing either of those in the Speed case makes me believe that they actually did have a human review of the situation here and eventually deemed that it wasn't on purpose, thus they shouldn't be super harsh with the policy enforcement here. I don't think this is the norm with their nudity policy. I don't think people are going to be able to get away with, you know, pretending that something was accidental. Like if you're doing a stream, for example, I go live right now, I take off all my clothes, I'm bare ass naked, and I start juggling my balls at the webcam before going offline. I don't think I could get away with deleting that footage and then being okay. I'm sure I would probably face a strike bare minimum because I had planned to do that and broadcast, knowingly broadcast content that violates the YouTube terms. Whereas here, it doesn't seem like that was ever the plan. It seemed like what Speed wanted was an over-the-top, loud reaction that went out of control. Overall, I'm pretty surprised that it didn't even result in a strike. YouTube's not exactly a platform that's known for its leniency when it comes to their rules. They never take context in consideration when it comes to anything with their policies. They've always shown themselves to be cutthroat, no mercy, and won't even listen to your side of a situation. So I was stunned to see that this resulted in them just being like, hey, you know, it happens. Carry on. But anyway, that's the most recent update on this whole story, but I do want to give a quick mention to a really degenerate clip that I just saw floating around about Aiden Ross's response to this.
Bro, guys, stop talking about his penis. I don't give a fuck. I've seen it thousands of times. I've known Speed for years. I've seen it in person thousands of times. I don't care. I saw it and I laughed. I smiled. I don't care, bro.
IShowSpeed just turned 18. He just turned 18 this year. And Aiden is saying that he's seen his penis in person thousands of times? What the fuck, man? I don't know if he's just trying to make some kind of weird pedophile joke about himself, or if he's just being totally honest, going mask off about seeing a kid's penis thousands of times over the years that he's known him. It's just disturbing. Why would you have seen a child's penis thousands of times? It makes it seem like you were grooming him. Like, the only way Speed could stay your friend was if he kept showing you his wiener or something like that with the way you're speaking about it. It is scary. That's some frightening shit. Again, I don't know if this was supposed to be a joke, but if it was, that is a weird one to make. That's setting off all kinds of alarm bells, red buzzers blaring. That is a big old self-report there. That is a joke that you couldn't torture someone enough to make, seeing a minor's penis thousands of times. Meanwhile, Aiden's just openly stating it, admitting to it with a big old smile on his face, bouncing up and down in his seat, super giddy to share the information that he's apparently seen IShowSpeed's penis thousands of times over the years before he was 18. Creepy. Very creepy. But anyway, yeah, that's really about the whole update on the situation as of right now. That's about it. See ya.